They starved me. I was rotting in a hospital bed, and he had the audacity to tell me to get up? Are you kidding me? I am hemorrhaging on this mattress, totally ignored, while my mental state crumbles into nothingness. Honestly, I would rather be 6 feet under. From enabling destructive binges to total neglect, the list of charges is staggering. These are not isolated incidents, they are a deluge of lawsuits aiming straight for the showrunners of my 600-pound life. I exposed the dark underbelly in my last deep dive, revealing how a series pitched as a lifeline has reportedly destroyed more lives than it saved. But amidst the wreckage, there is one figure who manages to keep his halo surprisingly polished. I am talking about the man himself, Dr. Now. He asks if you are ready to change, and for once, you want to believe it. The man is a saint. Throw him the most impossible cases, and he remains calm, digging for a solution where none seems to exist. Yet, even his legendary patience has a breaking point when faced with a human train wreck hell-bent on total ruin. He calls it like he sees it. You are skipping therapy. You are ignoring the plan. You are sabotaging your own survival. Don't come into my office feigning an emergency just to distract me from the fact that the scale is going up. You are stuffing your face and you know it. But you are clinging to this delusion that if you just stall long enough, the fat will magically melt away. Now, Dr. Now deals with tough cases daily, but there is one outlier. One specific individual who was so toxic he forced the doctor to do the unthinkable, wash his hands of him entirely, sent him packing. What is up, guys? It is the Internet Anarchist here, bringing you your weekly dose of documentary madness. Today, we are investigating a true mystery. Why you are binge-watching my content but have not smashed that subscribe button yet. I am playing. We are actually here to dissect the train wreck that is Steven Assanti, arguably the most infamous figure in the show's history. He holds the dubious title of worst contestant ever, a man so impossible he earned a permanent ban from Dr. Now's clinic. But it gets darker. His selfishness nearly put his own brother, Justin, in an early grave. The Assanti brothers didn't just walk onto the set, they crashed into the spotlight days before filming began. Steven was already making headlines for getting ejected from care. His crime? Ordering a pizza delivery to his hospital room. He was supposed to be saving his life, not having a cheat day. That stunt set the tone for everything that followed. The cameras started rolling, and the addiction was center stage. We weren't even an hour into the road trip before he was already looking for his next fix. Just listen to this phone call. Yeah, hey, listen to me. I need food. Now. Don't start with me. Just do me a favor. And stop wasting my minutes. Quit calling. Just get it done. Don't you dare forget. And hang up. That was the loop. Every 2 hours, like clockwork, he was demanding to be fed. He forced them to pull over at basically every drive-thru on the interstate. And if his dad tried to say no, Steven would flip the switch to pure emotional blackmail, threatening his own health to get a burger. Check this out. I am getting weak back here. If I die, it is on you, and you are going to regret it. That was the moment the audience realized. Steven wasn't just hungry, he was a master manipulator. But the dysfunction didn't stop there. Once they finally hit Houston, the dynamic imploded. Justin refused to stay, forcing their dad to drive him all the way back to Rhode Island. Steven was left to fend for himself. Peace out, brother. See you never. I need to put an ocean between me and him. Justin's desperate need to escape was a massive warning sign, hinting at a toxic history we will unpack later. For the moment, Steven was checked in and under supervision, and miraculously, he actually behaved. He followed orders. He listened to the staff. It was shocking. It is a struggle, but honestly, it feels good to finally do things right. He actually managed to stick to that strict 1,000 calorie limit. He kept it up for 2 solid months. Sure, the attitude was still there, but he looked like a guy who actually wanted to save his life. But do not get used to that version of Steven. By month 3, the facade cracked and the monster came out to play. He decided to turn the hospital into his personal torture chamber for the nurses. He was spamming that assistance button every 15 minutes, demanding food, demanding attention. He would say, "Look, I am just frustrated. That is why I am acting out. I am not trying to be a jerk. Seriously. I am fine. Thanks." But the polite act was paper thin. He was fishing for narcotics. He would summon the nurse just to ramble, hoping it would lead to a painkiller injection. "What is your name again? I need my meds. Get my nurse in here." He was treating medical professionals like slow waiters, and making them perform menial tasks he could easily do himself, just to feel the power. "Get someone in this room right now. I've been waiting forever. Turn these lights off." When the staff didn't jump fast enough, he would completely lose it, verbally abusing the nurses. "They moved my tray. My table is a disaster. Is my food still out there? Yeah, I think I saw it at the station. What the hell? This is so annoying. He is screaming in pure rage. Damn it. Are they serious? And then the lowest move? He deliberately spills his urine container. I hit that by accident because I don't feel good. You get what I'm saying? You know, I have never seen a patient quite like Steven. He is demanding pain meds every 15 minutes and dumping urine on the floor. Luckily, it didn't take long for Dr. Now to catch wind of the chaos. We are starting to see major red flags with Steven over the last month. His true pathological nature is showing. He is abusive to the staff and expects everyone to wait on him hand and foot, resulting in Dr. Now kicking Steven out of the hospital until he fixes his attitude. Steven, what is going on with your behavior? You have a mountain of complaints from the nurses. You need to change your act. You haven't. I know that. And I apologize. Apology means nothing. You are done here. This should have been a wake-up call for Steven to become a better human, but he decided to double down. He was now crashing in a new apartment that his father, Steve, rented for him. And the very first interaction viewers saw of the reunited father and son duo was Steven manipulating his dad for takeout. Give me your phone. I got the number. For what? For pizza. Oh my God. However, his relapse into food addiction paled in comparison to what he did to his new caretaker, Princess. Things seemed okay at first. They were getting along and Princess was actually optimistic about helping Steven. I've been taking care of Steven for a month now, and he can be a handful, but I like challenges, and he is a challenge. He even managed to drop 107 pounds with her help. You lost over 100 pounds. But just like his time in the hospital, Steven's cooperative phase didn't last, because just 2 months later, he ghosted multiple appointments with Dr. Now. When Princess went to check on him, she was shocked to find the apartment totally empty. I'm coming! Have it your way! Well, Steven. Okay, Steven Assanti is not here. Apparently, Steven had been sneaking off to different hospitals to get his hands on pain meds. As it turned out, he was completely addicted to them. I don't want to hear about your guilt. So you missed your appointments and you are abusing pain medication and hopping between all these hospitals. Why are you doing that? I shouldn't. And we have discovered you have done this about 20 times this past month. Do you know how dangerous that is? You need to stop. Yeah, the time to stop is right now. This relapse caused him to gain back over 83 pounds. But despite all that, Dr. Now was still willing to offer a lifeline. He had to lose 60 pounds in the next month to qualify for weight loss surgery. Steven, however, was more focused on scoring pills. I had to come here to get my pain meds. I gotta find another way to get them. Oh God. There are other ways. But if you try to buy on the computer, you could be buying from a cop or something though. Did that thought even cross your mind? Princess did the right thing and reported it all to Dr. Now, who was disappointed to say the least. What? Here is the situation. This is the end of the road for now, okay? But realizing he had a legitimate addiction, he gave Steven one more shot at redemption. On one condition, Steven had to check himself into a detox center for 7 days to kick the painkiller habit and get back on the program. Steven reluctantly agreed, got transferred to a new facility, and was put on detox meds. But once again, the self-destructive cycle that haunted his entire journey came back in full force. Just 4 days into rehab, he started begging staff to up his dose. When that failed, he called his father in a rage, blatantly lying about his treatment. I want to go home, please. Okay, Steven, calm down. They're treating me like a criminal. You have to calm down. It's not fair. I am not a freaking animal. I'm depressed. Now stop acting like this. I am going to hang up if you don't calm down. I am very sad and exhausted. I am trying to succeed, but I can't do it here. I can't. Freak out all you want. You are not getting any more drugs. This is the devil's playground. Fortunately, this time Steve Sr. stood his ground, forcing Steven to finish the detox with the substances out of his system. Both Dr. Now and Princess held on to hope that Steven could finally get back on his diet. You would think this trip home was about shedding pounds for that life-saving operation, but you would be dead wrong. The second he stepped through that door, the nightmare began. He didn't waste a single breath before verbally assaulting Princess. His beef? She didn't deliver his so-called detox stash. Listen to the entitlement here. He is ranting about how it is impossible to function without his fix, vowing to let her know just how unacceptable her behavior is. The irony is blinding. He actually says he is disappointed. This poor woman, Princess, has literally bent over backwards trying to keep him from eating himself to death. And that was it. Game over. She realized his mood swings were spiraling out of control. and she refused to be his punching bag any longer. She drops the hammer, she is done. And how does our antagonist handle rejection? Does he reflect? No. He throws a massive, toddler-sized tantrum. When she came back to retrieve a company-owned television, he literally barricaded the door and dialed 911 like she was the criminal. Listen to this lie. He tells dispatch to send officers immediately, claiming his caretaker bought him the TV as a personal gift. He spins this wild narrative that she is just bitter about being fired and is trying to rob him. He has the audacity to say her unemployment isn't his problem. He is playing gatekeeper, shouting through the door that he is under strict instructions to keep her out until law enforcement arrives. He is escalating the drama, acting like he is under siege. He flat out refuses to surrender the television without a court order or receipt. Princess calls his bluff. She has got nowhere to be. She tells him fine, bring on the cops. She will wait. She wasn't leaving without that asset. Thankfully, she eventually escaped that toxic environment unharmed. Steven, on the other hand, he was digging his grave deeper. The doctor had to lay down the law one last time. He told him straight up, get with the program immediately or you are done. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a death sentence forecast. It is basically a coin flip at this point whether the obesity kills him first or the pill addiction. The doc asks if he is actually committed. Steven mumbles a yes, and he is told to cut the nonsense and act like an adult. That should have been the moment everything changed. That was the flashing red light he needed to see. But of course, it didn't stick. The pull of the pills was way stronger than his will to live. You won't believe the lengths he went to. The man started choreographing fake accidents just to score a prescription. It is absolutely unhinged. Watch this performance. He is literally directing his own stunt, getting ready to throw himself off a golf cart. He spots a curb and decides that is his stage. He tumbles out in slow motion, wailing like he has been shot. It is Oscar-worthy acting for all the wrong reasons, but the reality check? It hit harder than the pavement. When he stepped on the scale, he was up another 20 pounds. His so-called journey was just a merry-go-round of tiny steps forward and massive leaps back. It is the classic addict cycle: relapse, binge, repeat. Even the doctor, a man with saint-like patience, was running on empty. He has dealt with difficult patients before, but Steven? He was rapidly becoming a hopeless case in the doctor's eyes. But before kicking him to the curb, the doc decided to try one last bizarre psychological trick to snap him out of it. He leads him down the corridor, positions him in front of a full-length glass, and forces him to really look. He demands Steven stare at the reflection, no hiding, just pure, unfiltered confrontation with the damage he has inflicted on his own frame. He asks the brutal question, "What do you see?" Steven admits it. A massive failure. And wildly enough, this harsh reality check clicked. It worked better than any pep talk. 2 months later, the scale read 677.5 pounds. That is a 73-pound drop. He even started acting like a decent human being for once. But with Steven, the question is always, is this real? Or is the mask going to slip again? We had to wonder if he could cross the finish line or if he would self-sabotage. But even with the weight dropping, a massive shadow loomed over him. You can fix the body, but the bridges he burned, those are still smoking. His relationship with his family, particularly his brother Justin, was completely toxic. From day one, Justin didn't pretend to like his brother. He made it crystal clear he couldn't stand the guy. He pointed out the hypocrisy. Steven used to brag about being invincible, and now that he is crumbling, Justin isn't offering sympathy. In fact, Justin basically admits he finds Steven's suffering amusing. It is cold, but there is deep history there. Steven tries to downplay it, comparing their dynamic to a rocky marriage with fluctuations, just a lot of turbulence. He gets asked who causes the drama. Is it mutual? No. Steven actually owns it here. He admits he is the root of all the evil. He confesses to starting every fight. And Justin has the receipts to back up why he hates him. It wasn't just sibling rivalry, it was a lifetime of torment. Justin refuses to even be in the same airspace as him. He says he won't share a car or a room with Steven. Why? Because Steven used to physically beat him into a pulp on a daily basis. 18 years of relentless assault. When confronted, Steven doesn't even deny it. He would hit him, steal his meals, and just make his existence miserable. And even when Steven got too big to throw a punch, the torture didn't end. Once the obesity limited his mobility, he couldn't physically attack Justin anymore. So he evolved. He switched from physical violence to psychological warfare, proving that the monster on the inside was just as ugly as the outside. He lacked the mobility to throw a punch, so he resorted to psychological warfare, banging against the walls incessantly until I finally cracked. I surrendered to his demands just to stop the noise. However, as Steven began shedding the weight, It seemed like both siblings were turning a massive corner. Steven actually humbled himself, offering an apology for the years of torment he inflicted on Justin. "I am sorry for the hell I put you through." But Justin wasn't buying a cheap sorry. He made it clear, forgiveness isn't a handout, it's earned. "You need to understand, I'm not just going to say it's okay. You have to prove you've changed. That is the only path to redemption. Keep walking the straight and narrow." Despite the words, the tension was thick. Justin flat out refused to be in the same room as Steven. He suspected this sudden transformation was all smoke and mirrors. Enter Steve Sr. Desperate to play peacemaker and force a reunion, the father cooked up a scheme. He booked Justin's surgery for the exact same date as Steven's checkup. It was a setup involving Dr. Now. When Justin came out of anesthesia, boom, Steven was sitting right there waiting for him. Shockingly, the ambush worked. For the first time in forever, they weren't at each other's throats. It looked like genuine healing was happening. They were on the verge of fixing a lifetime of damage, and then Steven decided to light the bridge on fire. He committed a betrayal so low it defies logic. A few weeks post-surgery, Steven swung by Justin's hotel, ostensibly to check on his recovery. On the surface, it was a friendly, brotherly visit. But the moment Steven walked out the door, the reality set in. Justin realized his supply of post-op pain medication had vanished. "He stole my pills while I was vulnerable, right after they sent me home." Steven left his own brother to suffer in agony just to get a fix. Naturally, this was the final nail in the coffin for Justin. He cut the cord immediately, deciding he wanted zero contact with Steven ever again. Just like that, the family was shattered. The relationship was dead on arrival, solely due to Steven's selfishness. But while he acts like a monster to his family on screen, we have to analyze the origin story. How does someone become this toxic? It all traces back to a nightmare childhood. Steven wasn't raised in a stable home. We have seen how his dad, Steve Sr., caves to every demand. But there is a dark reason for that lack of backbone. For the majority of their early years, the boys lived with their mother post-divorce. Calling her neglectful doesn't even begin to cover the horror show. She was battling severe addiction, and that chaos defined the way she raised or failed to raise her sons. "My childhood was a disaster. We were stuck living with my mum," Justin recalls. "At that point, the bottle and the boyfriends took priority over us. She didn't just drink at home. She would vanish to the bars every single night, leaving 2 young kids to survive on their own. The situation spiraled whenever she dragged one of these men back to the house, as they were often hostile toward the children. Her boyfriends were violent. I remember getting beaten, and my mum knew it was happening. She was too wasted to care or intervene. This cycle of trauma only stopped because she literally abandoned them. She ghosted her own kids. When Justin was 9 and Steven was 15, she walked out the door one night and never returned. The boys were shipped off to their father. While they escaped the poverty and physical abuse, they traded one hell for another. Steve Sr. was so consumed by guilt over what they had endured that he overcompensated to a dangerous degree. He became the ultimate enabler, granting every single desire, never setting boundaries. Even when he needed to be a parent and say absolutely not, he folded. This guilt-driven parenting is the root cause of their massive weight gain and explains why he cowers whenever Steven uses aggression to demand food. "Okay, thanks, bye." "All right, enjoy it. You happy now? Go have a feast." "I will. You know I will." In a moment of clarity, the father admits he lost control of the situation the moment their mother vanished. "I tried to limit the groceries, but Steven demanded pizza 24/7. He was obsessed with it. If the delivery didn't show up, Steven would throw a violent tantrum. He was completely unmanageable. Over time, the father was conditioned to give Steven whatever he pointed at, believing that resistance was futile. "I learned the hard way," he says. "Fighting him is useless. If he wants the pizza, he gets the pizza." Steven, acting like a tyrant, weaponized his father's weakness. This dynamic perfectly explains why Steven feels entitled to everything. It is the direct result of a father who refused to discipline him. It also likely didn't help that Steven got a taste of internet clout in his mid-20s, fueling his narcissism even further. Under the alias Fatboy Get Down, his channel was originally just a train wreck of him gyrating to whatever viral track was trending at the time. But the real draw was when he turned on the camera for one of his unhinged rants. "I am completely done with this. If you trolls have something to say, then say it to my face. Fat this, fat that. Yeah, I know I'm freaking heavy, alright? And if that bothers you, talk to the hand. You get me?" But the clip that truly cemented his villain status was the one where he mocked the very taxpayers funding his lifestyle. "Ha ha ha, this one goes out to all you taxpayers. Thanks for footing the bill, suckers. Because without your cash, I wouldn't have a pot to piss in, I wouldn't have this food to stuff my face with, and I definitely wouldn't have the pills keeping me breathing. Naturally, this toxic behavior caught the eye of Dr. Phil, who decided to cast him in a bizarre social experiment titled House of Hatred. The concept was pure chaos. Lock sworn enemies under one roof. We're talking a white supremacist, forced to live with minorities, and homophobes bunking with members of the LGBTQ+ community. Then there was Steven, representing the I hate skinny people demographic, all in a twisted attempt to force them to coexist. The goal was to find common ground, but Steven, being the master manipulator he is, had zero intention of playing by the rules. He completely derailed the production, ditching the premise to try and hustle the medical staff for free weight loss surgery instead. This led to a legendary TV moment where Dr. Phil absolutely exposes him. So, tell me, how are you really doing? I've changed so much. I'm barely eating. Funny, Phil shoots back. I ask how you are, and you immediately pivot to your diet, when the entire reason you're on this stage is supposed to be your hatred of thin people. You walked in here trying to run a scam. You feed me lines you think I want to hear, but then we catch you on the phone, acting like a complete fool. You disrespected a kind woman, and you won't even practice basic hygiene. You are lazy. Period. And the second anyone calls you out, you turn manipulative, aggressive, and arrogant. I know, I shouldn't be like that, but I am. Well, you can't live